Hey guys, so have you heard about Capital One educational benefits? If you have, you probably are wondering a lot of questions such as what is it? How can you get it? Is it useful and should you actually pursue it? And are other TDPs, are they using it? And if they are, what are things that they're looking for? These are all going to be answered today. If you recently got into Capital One TDP, congratulations, and TDP as well. And if you want to know more about tips and tricks and how to navigate through Capital One TDP program, do subscribe. But now let's get back to that other video. I'll start with the personal story. While I was an undergrad at the university, I really did want to go ahead and proceed with the education and actually pursue a master's degree. However, I did not want to spend another year of studying and getting more debt and not earning any income. So I was looking for educational benefits that companies are giving, and Capital One was one of them. So I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and graduate, which is December 2015, and then try to give it a little bit of time to adjust, and then in summer I can go ahead and start my master's. And by the way, I didn't quite know where I'm gonna be doing that, but I thought I have from December until this February timeline to figure out where I'm gonna apply and what am I gonna do. I decided to go for Hopkins University, and I went for their applied masters, which is this part-time masters for somebody who is working. That means that you can go ahead and still attend school, and you can go either on-site at the classes, the specific times that they're offered, or you can go ahead and do it online as well. So giving those two benefits, it was pretty interesting for me to go ahead and pursue this masters. Also, Johns Hopkins is known as a good medical school, and I was dabbling with maybe I do want to do computer science and some medical parts to it. So what is Capital One educational benefit? It is around $5,000 a year, and actually this was not as good with my program because my program was around $3,700 a class, and then now that was 4 years ago, and now it's actually $4,500. So the price was creeping up little by little, but it was becoming a little bit not sustainable to take one class basically every semester. So I had to go ahead and do it fall and spring and ignore the summer instead, unfortunately. But once again, I was not really rushing to finish the masters. I was actually looking forward having this work-life balance, as well as taking the masters and learning on my own and having a little bit more practical skill, so I'm not just kind of bored at work doing the same exact thing. Honestly, you never really do the same exact thing. You always have different problems, but still, you're still in this similar sphere versus different sides of it. What does it give you? It gives you a higher education at the expense of the company. But of course, there are some criteria in order to qualify, and one of the things that Capital One would say is you have to have a good standing within your performance review, and you do have to get a yes from your manager, and as well as you do have to use your degree towards something within the work. So that means that you won't be able to go and get biotech class in biology or chemistry and then say, hey, I actually need this for my work, because you're probably in the financial services, versus if you were in more like a lab tech or medical startup or medical company, you could definitely argue that if biology or chemistry was one of the sides that you were looking for, you need that class. And this is actually pretty good, because if you do decide that being a software engineer is not something for you as kind of your long-term goal, and maybe you want to become a doctor or something like that, looking at the medical companies would be good, because you can get a lot of your prerequisites through there. I actually definitely was thinking about it when I was thinking at Johns Hopkins, but the more I think about medical, the more I get discouraged, and I'm actually enjoying learning a lot of medical terminologies on my own rather than through school and actually becoming a doctor. Though being a doctor and saving lives is great. What about other TDPs? Are they actually taking advantage of that or not? And honestly, I did not find too many people who were doing this, but I did find a couple. There was actually two that were in my I guess, in my group of like cybersecurity area, and one of them, she already started before me, and she was actually in the same program, and she was doing cybersecurity. And another guy who was my very good friend, he was thinking about doing it, and he actually did it, and he finished a year before me because he just powered through it and he wanted to have his master's. But a lot of other ones that I found, at least in the McLean area, I found a lot of TDPs going for the Georgia Tech for their machine learning computer science master's program. And the reason why is because it is online and it is a lot of machine learning, and that's one of the sort of hot topic that a lot of TDPs are trying to learn or get into. I don't know if you're interested in machine learning or you're thinking about it, but it's definitely a good thing to understand and understand the models. But I think you still need to have a very good grasp on the basic pipeline and actually taking the data, processing the data before you can feed it in the model. Because a lot of these models, they're already pre-created. So if you know how to use it, it's very beneficial, but don't forget about the basics as well. Last question, should you pursue it? You have to understand that it does take time, and it's a whole semester that you're going to be spending. No, 1 second. It's not a whole semester. It's 10 classes. So depending on how you're going to schedule them, let's say you're taking 1 class a semester. So you have fall, spring, summer. So 3 classes a year. That means you will have at least 3 years and 1 semester, if you're taking class by class, that you're going to spend in doing this master's. And it's going to be difficult at times depending on the class that you take, but it might be rewarding for you, and it might actually keep you sort of on your toes doing this and that. And especially if you did come into the program and you think that you're not really concrete, or you have this lack somewhere in the engineering side, this is a great way to reinforce whatever you are missing to go back and do it. And you know how there's a lot of Skillshares and different online learning platforms, and then there's Coursera. You can definitely go ahead and get a certificate and learn through there. But I find that when you do have a program, you are getting a grade for it, and nobody wants to get a bad grade. And especially with masters, you have to have at least 3.0 or higher. If you go lower, you get not the detention, not expulsion. We can say you get put on a bench for a semester and you're not able to take classes until you figure your shit out. With the grades, it's a little bit more maybe pressuring. However, you're able to focus and you're able to actually put effort in order to get a good grade instead of like a bad grade. But in case that you never will go ahead and go back to school, you don't really need to care about the grades. But as everyone, I mean, like, you probably already got this from school, that if you want to get a good grade rather than like getting a C or something like that. One more point that I want to mention is that it's very hard to go back to school. If you are planning or thinking maybe to go to masters, I would say do not prolong it for more than a year, because if you are not going to go and enroll in a program in a year, it's going to be hard for you to justify why exactly do you need it. Because a lot of times, a lot of people say that for computer science, you don't need the master. And yes, they are right. You don't need the masters. However, it reinforces a lot of things about the things that you have learned, or it gives you new skill and new perspective on solving things. For example, one of the recent classes that I just finished, and this is the reason why this video took a while, is I took multi-processing programming. And what we learned is that there's a lot of sequential execution and there's a lot of parallel. So if your code is written in more sequential path, it's going to be hard for you to optimize. So when you're doing a lot of big data or number crunching, or you want multiple threads to go ahead and solve something, such as like inserting into binary tree or deleting into binary tree, which actually takes logs as well, you need to actually think a little bit ahead and plan how you are going to write your code in order to have sequential part and parallel part. And the more of your code that is sequential, the harder it is for you to parallelize it. So it's a lot of these kind of small things that you do, not small, big things that you get from the class, but you understand the perspective. Similar to taking a lot of classes that are outside computer science, you are able to see and view things in a different world, which is also pretty great, and I would definitely recommend it. So as the last remark, I think it's definitely up to you. You should check how much time you're gonna have on your hands, and are you able to finish work before you start your journey into master degree. But I would definitely advise to take this educational benefit, because it is almost as free money, and as well as incentive to go ahead and have a master. And who doesn't really like to say, oh yeah, I also have a master's in this and I know X, Y, and Z? Of course. Another thing is, do look at different programs, because if you do want something that is on site, you're able to go into the class. Make sure you find that program. But the best ones that I would recommend is on-site and online, because a couple times when I had to go to Russia, I was still able to take the class because I was in Russia and I was still finishing my class and doing prerequisite, and I didn't have to miss the class. So it gives you a lot of flexibility as, you know, an adult, to be flexible with how you spend your time and also not take away from your travels or your plans to go abroad and maybe live abroad as well. So good luck. I hope you enjoyed it, and for the next video I'm going to be talking about what is this TDP program a little bit more in depth. So if you're interested, do not forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.